Welcome to the Motivational Firewood Radio Show, hosted by keynote speaker, author, and Vision Board Mastery creator, Steve Gamlin. We hope you enjoy today's episode.
Hey there, my friend. Steve Gamlin here. Welcome to the Motivational Firewood Radio Show. Today, we've got another very cool guest to speak with. This is actually a woman I've met recently because we are part of the radio family on Inspire Radio, a streaming radio out of England, worldwide, heard in 32 countries at the moment, all about positivity, positive energy, positive stories, positive people, and just being real. So today's guest is Emma Jane Taylor. Emma Jane is an inspirational mentor. She is also known as, and I love this title, the girl going nowhere, with a question mark at the end of that. Emma Jane, welcome to Motivational Firewood Radio.
Hi, Steve. Thank you so much for having me on the radio today with you.
It's a pleasure. And I've got to ask, the title, The Girl Going Nowhere?
Right,
where did that come from?
Okay, so, if I go back to my story, I was a young girl and I was told I was going nowhere from about 14, 15 years old. I was told this as I left senior school. The truth was I was never the failure. But at that point in my life, Steve, I appeared to have gone down a very dark lane. I had failed most of my exams in high school. I spent most of my time bunking off school. I started drinking at 13 years old. I was sent to a junior school psychiatrist by the age of 14, and they slapped a label on me, the juvenile delinquent. On paper, it wasn't looking so good, but my reality was very different. I share my traumatic story in my book, Don't Hold Back, but the nuts and bolts of it, I was sexually abused at 9 years old. At 11 years old, my biological father told me he could not see me again. And I've not seen him since. I'm 48 years old. At age 13, I fell into the hands of a family acquaintance who groomed me for the next few years. Throughout my teenage years, I drank excessively. I took drugs. I was bulimic. By the age of 17, I was pretty exhausted by life. I had been groomed, degraded, bullied, raped, tortured. I became extremely nervous, anxious. I suffered with OCD, PTSD. At 19, I took myself off to Spain. I was a nervous wreck and I felt I needed to get away. I think I was running away at that point. Age 21, I came back to the UK and decided to try and start some kind of semblance of a career. I had a few professional contracts, but it was my dancing that I missed. I was a performer all my life, dancing by trade, and that's what I really enjoyed doing. So I kind of took my dance classes forward. I did some temping, and within a year of sort of doing this, I then trained in fitness, and then I opened a series of fitness classes for adults. About 4 years after sort of making all these changes, I stopped drinking, I stopped taking drugs, I stopped looking at my life negatively. I stopped thinking back to what my headmistress had said, you're the failure, you're the girl going nowhere. And I realized I wasn't the failure. I then put myself into therapy, aged 24, and started my business.
One thing I really appreciate about the journey is you've kept that phrase in there, but now you throw a question mark after it.
Yes.
Because it's never a period or an exclamation or even an ellipsis. Because it just, it never ends, but here it is. You've rewritten yourself. You've redescribed and redefined and repurposed and reignited yourself in you. When you rediscovered your passion for dance, that it led you to a better place and a better mindset. And then you surrounded yourself with the right people who helped you to get through that. And made better decisions.
And I think actually that's a really important point there, Steve. When I was going through my difficulties, I was with people who I don't believe were right for me. They weren't bad people. Mm-hmm. They were just not right for me. And when I decided to change, stop drinking, stop, all the other stuff that I was doing, I then moved away from that area on my own, pretty lonely, but I made that decision just to get away and try and make something of my life, because I wasn't the failure or the girl going nowhere. And it allowed me to free up who I was, meet new people. So instead of being around a lot of people, I was now with a few people. And actually, it became more important to me. It's never quantity, it's always quality, whether that be with your circle of friends, business, life, and so on. It's never quantity, it's always the quality. And actually taking that quality forward and then starting my business, growing my business became a really important part of my success. And I don't mean monetary.
And you said something really great there, because of course the phrase, and right now I can't remember who said it. I just know it was one of the legends. You are the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yes.
And you decided to change. And it reminded me of something my grandfather had told me when I was young, because I was in my early 20s. I was in the radio industry. I had not only really cool friends, people I worked with, we had all these fans that would show up at all these events. And I just thought, this is so great being around so many people. And my grandfather said, when you reach 50 years old, if you can count your real friends on one hand, you're doing great and you're successful. Yes. And I always said, Pepe, here's my French grandfather. So Pepe, I said, Pepe, I got all kinds of friends. He goes, you just wait. And sure enough, I'm 52 years old now. He was right on one hand. And I don't even know if I would use all the fingers right now. I can count my true best friends who make me better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you there. And more people should listen and learn from that.
Yes. And sometimes people think, well, if I only have 5 friends, what does that say about me? Now, my definition of that, or my answer to that in my early 20s would have been vastly different from now. Now I say I'm extremely lucky.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people out there who don't have someone and haven't surrounded themselves with the right people on purpose, thinking that to be a lack. And I love that you said you started going back to dance, and then you learned more about fitness and applied yourself there. You are now the CEO, which I love to say because I know some incredibly amazing, passionate CEOs who are some of my clients as well, of a company called The Works. And I know the phrase, The Works, it just means a whole bunch of things. Describe a little bit about all the different companies, because it's all about wellness and balancing your mental, emotional, and physical well-being to be the best version of you every day. So what is under The Works umbrella?
So yeah, absolutely what you've just said there. One of my keywords is balance. Be emotionally, mentally, and physically balanced to be the best you. If you think of yourself as a pie chart and you've got 3 parts of you, fitness, physical, emotional, mental. If one of them is unbalanced, it's not going to be whole and you're not going to work effectively. So thinking about how you can put everything into place. And that's what the Works company is about. Whether you're 4 years old, 94 years old, we work with a whole array of ages. I have a performing arts school, Stageworks, and that is for children aged 4 to 16. So I went back to my roots, and that was where I kind of really started my recovery years. No one knew my story. I mean, I've only started sharing it in the last 2 or 3 years. No one knew my story, but I started my recovery and started the business. And the business that I really loved, my passion, dancing, performing, and with kids, giving back to kids, giving kids an opportunity, because I had all of that as a kid, but I had so much stripped away from me. And it was really important for me to nurture that. The fitness company was called Nutritious Works. And in that company, it was adults, and it's working, balancing mental, emotional, physical fitness, from activities, from Pilates and yoga through to high intensity workouts. So those 2 businesses were born. They now run with a team of people I have in place running them in the local community where I live and work. So like I say, they're for 4 to 94 plus. I think our oldest lady is 88 years old, and she's probably fitter than some of the girls that come in their 30s, 40s. She's an amazing woman. And then after that, we launched She Networks, which is a networking. Well, networking isn't really the right word. It's a connecting, collaborative group of women. Obviously, with COVID, it hasn't been meeting so regularly. It's about bringing women together to share ideas, to help each other through and collaborate into new opportunities. I then opened Ocean Work Retreats, which I took over to Europe and ran retreats there for people to get back in line. And it was really much more about mentoring, as well as obviously the diet, the exercise, and the emotional mental support. And after that, I got my 4 companies: Stageworks, Nutritious Works, She Networks, and Ocean Work Retreats. That's when we formed the Works umbrella, which encompasses all of the work that I do at the Works company with a team of people. I now, as a mentor and a CBT practitioner, work as the inspirational mentor, the girl going nowhere, with clients looking after their emotional and mental needs. But also I do interact with them on the physical level because I have my qualifications. And I think everybody needs to remember how important it is to move or eat well, So like I say, keep balanced. So yeah, that's the Works company. That is everything under one roof. And that all stemmed from starting Stageworks in 2000 so 20 years ago I started Stageworks.
And here's something I love about the way you explained every single stage and phase of your company. With my team. You've surrounded yourself very intentionally with the right people to do the right jobs and do the right position. And you're not trying to do it all yourself, which is one of the pitfalls of being an entrepreneur. I own 2 companies and I go crazy enough doing
Yeah. And you know what? When I first started, I didn't know what delegation meant. And I was very much that person. And when I decided that I needed to delegate to grow and do all my other things, I understood the power of bringing in a team that were more talented than me. And that takes a lot to say that, right? Because, you'd like to think, but I now have a team around me who bring in so much talent. They're the best colleagues. They're the best team. Some of them have been with me for 20 years. And, I think it's a great atmosphere we create for our community. And I absolutely love that.
And the beauty of that is the people you get to bring in, maybe they have that one great skill. Maybe trying to run their own business doing that skill is not the best decision for them. So they get to plug in and be a part of yours. So they get to shine at what they do best. And I remember being, because I have 2 small businesses. I remember being that guy who was trying to learn digital marketing, who was trying to learn to build a website, who was trying to learn these other things. And I remember sitting down with a pen and paper in front of 6 hours of YouTube videos. And at the end of it, looking at myself in the mirror and say, oh my gosh, you are dumber than you thought when you started this. You don't know. And 2.5 years ago, I got introduced to an amazing digital marketing expert who is now the backbone of my business. I would not be here without this person and his team, because he already had a team going. And he says, brother, you just keep creating content. We take care of everything else. So it's almost like if you remember the party game Mad Libs, where you would fill in a noun, adjective, an adverb, and it tells a funny story. Well, now I just get to plug in certain things and my team does the rest, and we all grow and shine together. So I love that you've said that. And now I've got to ask you this too, because you have successful companies and it's been 20 years. How many people who haven't maybe seen you in a while go, oh my gosh, Emma Jane, I saw all these things. You are so lucky.
Actually, it's interesting you say that, because a girl I hadn't seen for a while bumped into her probably like a year or 2 ago. And she was like, oh, EJ, you're so lucky. I said, lucky? What do you mean I'm so lucky? She said, you can pick and choose your hours. You can have longer breaks. And I kind of thought, I said, do you know what? This isn't luck. I have worked 24/7, 365 and still do. I might take a longer lunch sometimes, but do you know I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I don't go to bed until 1 o'clock in the morning. That's to have that longer lunch. So, this isn't luck. This is a lot of hard work. And it's the best hard work that I've ever had given to me. And it's the hard work that I like to share, because we can all be successful. And I don't mean monetary. We can all be successful if we understand the power of the working environment that we're in, and also enjoying the work that we do.
Yeah, I blame the motivational gurus for putting their videos out there saying, if you want to be successful, and they're wearing a $12,000 suit, sitting in front of a Lamborghini, a yacht,
Yes.
and a mansion.
And they still do that.
Are rented in many of the videos. Just a
Yeah.
little peek behind the curtain there.
Yeah.
And you said it, it's finding your success, defining success for yourself, and in squeezing in all those hours. I mean, so much of the world doesn't see what we do behind the scenes.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I have sometimes, you know, during lockdown, for example, when we got locked down here in the UK, it was on a Wednesday. And I think I sat there and thought, oh, it's my 20th anniversary year. I've got to make this work. So I didn't sleep for 2 nights. My partner was saying, you're crazy. You need to have some rest. I was like, I need to get my business online. I haven't had a day off this year. And our clients and our members haven't had a day off. I went from active to lockdown to virtual within 48 hours, and we have not had an activity stopped in all this time. So for 20 years, we're still as active as we were back in the day. And now, obviously, it's been a different kind of hard work, but it's been worth it, right? You know, we've got to the other side. We're coming out a little bit, even though I think we've got to go back in again, but we're ready now to go back in.
Yeah.
But, you know, that none of that happens by magic. You know, it happens because I have to sit at the top of my team at times, and underneath me I have an admin team, and then I have my management team and my seniors and my juniors. If they don't know what they're doing, how the hell are they going to make this right for our members and our clients? So I have to make sure it's driven hard and fast with the right direction, protocols in place, so everybody knows how to follow and what they need to do to move forward. But like you say, that comes from hardly any sleep, a lot of matchsticks. And but you know what, I was actually quite enjoying that challenge. Even though it was horrible, I was enjoying that new challenge.
And as chaotic and stressful and confusing as this year has been, you nailed it, because what you did was said, okay, we need to get online. Now, some people this year just said, okay, we'll take the year off, we'll coast, we'll do whatever. Oh, I don't know how to do this. Oh, it's too much, we're just going to wait it out. And you've created a whole new leg under the table that even beyond this, for people who maybe can't get to a facility where your classes are taught or the education is being shared, you now have this, that you are now global. And one of the clients I work with is a company called Athena's Home Novelty. They're based here in the States. And the model of their business is they do in-home parties, or they do expos in big conference centers. All that went away. And the most hard charging of their independent reps started to go online and do Facebook Lives and do Zooms and do virtual lotteries and giveaways and virtual bingo and all these things. They are crushing some of their old numbers. They're beating some of the numbers that they were hitting when they had to do events and drive all over the place. And they're crushing it out of necessity and desire. Because it's not just, well, we needed to, so we did it. That'll only get you so far. Your passion, your dedication.
Yeah, and all those sleepless nights are worth it.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, I'm a poster. I should be on the 5-Hour Energy poster. I'm borderline ADHD as it is, and already fast paced. And I like 5-Hour Energy as well. So that's kept me going, because I've had to go virtual as well. I can't fly all around the country to speak. So I've been dressing nicely from the waist up since the middle of March. And I'm having a ball here in my recording studio. Plus, it allows me to catch up and meet and talk with cool people like yourself, who I now know from the Inspire Radio family. I mean, gosh, we attract the greatest people into this family. Now I get to be I'm American Steve, because our boss is Steve as well. So people say, well, how's American Steve doing? I said, well, American Steve is doing great.
Yeah.
Now I get to be plugged into this again, part of a team, part of a network. Who are your 5 people? You're part of that family now, and you're part of my circle. And I love how inspired you make me feel. And after looking at everything you have going on, how much looks like sometimes I'm napping a little too much.
Do you know, and people say that. People say that to me. You know, I've had some really good opportunities working with That's TV. I work on various radio shows, like you say, Inspire Radio being one of them. I also present for another radio station on the Wellbeing Show. They've also given me a Power Hour slot. I write for a magazine. I've written my book. You know, and I think, but I've done all that. Suddenly it comes to me and I'm like, okay, it's time to write my book, or now it's time to push on. And I've had some really good experiences. I got to speak at the House of Commons last year, in 2019.
Wow.
This is the girl going nowhere, right?
Right.
Here I am representing a company at the House of Commons as their speaker. And if that can't motivate anyone to remember how important and valuable they are, then I don't know what will.
If there's somebody listening right now who is saying, I wish I could do what she's done, or right now they're looking around themselves and saying, oh my gosh, I'm where she was 20 years ago. What advice would you give to somebody right now who may just be getting into the habit of maybe believing in themselves, but they're not quite sure what to do or how to take those first critical steps? What advice would you give to that person right now?
I think, first of all, you need to get organized. I think if you can look around my office, you can see me on here on this call. I have 5 whiteboards, and on each whiteboard, it's clear where I'm going with each project. So, get organized, however organized looks to you. I'm a whiteboard girl. I like a diary, a paper diary. I like my notebook by the side of my desk every day with things I need to do. I tick off and I start the next list as it goes. So it's about being organized. If you have a belief and you have a passion and you are driven by that, you need to get organized, because if you can't get organized, you can just forget it. Nothing ain't going to work. But you need to be also very practical. So when I'm looking at my board, each board, can I make this happen this day, this week, this month? If the answer is no, it needs more money, then I need to work out, how can I get that money? So I need to go to this board to get my money. So once I got my money in, I can make board 2 happen. So it's really about planning, organization, scheduling, being tight. If you have a team around you, look after your team. And, I communicate with my team once a week. We meet up every 6 weeks, and make sure that they're all in an integral part of your growth.
And seek out people with the title Inspirational Mentor, because there's a reason, that's not just a fancy marketing thing. There's a reason you've earned that title. So Emma Jane, how can people learn more about you? How can people seek out your information, hear your radio shows, read your book, Don't Hold Back? How can they find out more about you?
So if you go to my website, it's www.emmajanetaylor.com. On there's a link to buy my book. There's a contact page there that you can email me on. You can also email me at emmajanepa@gmail.com. That will come through, and if it's about work, if it's about writing, if it's about mentoring, it will all get filed accordingly towards me as well. So on LinkedIn, on Facebook, I'm known as the Inspirational Mentor, Emma Jane Taylor, the Inspirational Mentor. I'm also on Twitter, Emma Jane Taylor @EJ the Mentor, and on Instagram, I'm the Inspirational Mentor. So I'm kind of everywhere and doing what I can to enjoy my life, motivate others, and remember that sometimes, even though it is complex and it is busy, there are some real simple things in life that we should enjoy. And some of my work, I hope, reflects that.
And I think it is important to enjoy the journey, because you don't want to arrive on the front porch or in one of your classes at 88 years of age, not able to keep up and not there motivating and bringing you joy every single day. Emma Jane, thank you so much for being part of the show. I'm so honored and happy to have you as part of the family on Inspire Radio as well. And thank you so much for being a guest on Motivational Firewood Radio.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you for listening. For more information on how you can create a more vivid, focused future with the Vision Board Mastery Program, or to invite Steve to be part of your next event, please visit motivationalfirewood.com.